this administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as President of the United States.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
Donald Trump intends for it to get worse. This week he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of this. Donald Trump.
That last one never gets old. Carolyn Levitt too, man. Blasting these lefty. I mean, I'm so glad she called him out. It's a beautiful thing. Big JR, you got some good taste in your ladies, my friend. Fortunately, she doesn't know anything about you, but we'll pretend. We'll pretend I didn't just say that. What's going on, everybody? You guys ready for a rockin' show? Man, things are ramping up. It is. Can y'all say it with me? It might be insurrection time, baby. Insurrection act. It's building. This is the closest we've ever been. It is, even as I was doing the research on it, it's closer than I expected. There's so much going on. It looks like things are about to ramp up. This Minneapolis nonsense, this anti-ICE riots that are just going crazy. They seem to be the thing finally maybe pushing Trump in that direction. If it does, it's on, baby. It's on like Donkey Kong. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to show you everything I'm seeing. We're going to go through some very interesting stuff coming out of the last Tucker Carlson podcast and coming out of Ukraine and show you what the globalists are up to over there. And then Trump also got some massive wins. American people got some massive wins the last couple of days in the economy and Supreme Court, so on and so forth. And then we're also going to talk at the end a little bit about where silver is, and is silver about to crash the markets? I don't know, but it definitely looks like it's possible. We're going to talk about that towards the end. So before we get started, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Listen, guys, this is, if you're new here, I'm Ace, and I go through today's most relevant news to MAGA America First, getting our country back on track. I do it with fire in my veins, fire in my belly, and the ability to cut through the BS nonsense of the mainstream media and the psyops that, yes, come from both sides of the uniparty. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, repost if you're on X if you don't mind. I greatly appreciate it. Let that algo know you guys love the truth. All right, let me say hey to some peeps up in this Chizette, and we'll get real quick, I almost forgot. Listen, also, if you want to support the channel, if you like what you're seeing here, if you want extra content as well as 24/7 Discord access, go in the description, click that link to Patreon, get yourself a free month. And after you're in the club, joining us, learning, having a good time, talking politics, talking stocks, and you decide to stay, it's only $5 a month after that to support the channel. So, all right, thank you for that. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, now let's call out the chat and then we'll get started. Wagga Waco, what's up, brother? In the hizzy, Moody's here, D6, Alan Agajanian, Blue 5, US1 Tahoe, Cass Sink, Action Not Words, what's going on? Scott Volkovich, Jax here, Shogun, Pat M, Rum Dog, Steve King, AZ Tropic, and Lochtefeld over there on Rumble. Candace Morrison, good to see you. It's been a bit, my friend. How are you? Marco Sanchez, what's up? Linda Telly in the house. Gerald Kramer, Nick Majors, Just Mike, CA Human. What is going on? What have I heard about ending the filibuster as Rum Dog? The Republicans, man, they don't want to do it. They do not want to do it because there's talk about insurrection. The Congress right now, especially the Senate, is basically dragging their feet on everything against Trump right now because, truth be told, guys, the Republicans kind of want to lose the midterms. And I don't mean Trump Republicans. I don't mean MAGA Republicans. I mean the old deep state leftovers, unipartyists that are still there, that are still controlled, bought and paid for by City of London, cabal types. They are still hanging in there, and they believe if they can get the midterms, then all of a sudden the Democrats can come in, they can run cover for the deep state, they can fight Trump at every opportunity, impeach him, all that, and the Republicans can hang back and say, oh, well, this is terrible, cannot believe this is happening. And that's what they want. That's what they want. And so the odds of them overturning, nuking the filibuster are very low unless Trump can put it to them, put enough pressure on them to overturn it. Now, he did just get a huge win with the War Powers Act for Venezuela. They were trying to take away his ability to do anything else in Venezuela with a quick vote in the Senate, and it was defeated. Trump was able to put enough pressure on 3 to 5 Republicans that were going to vote opposite it to get it to 50 votes, and then J.D. Vance broke the tiebreaker. So that's what's going on. That's where we're at with that. But the Senate, guys, I've told you guys, it is. I mean, listen, the NED just got refunded. Like they funded it again in the House because every Democrat voted for it, and 81 Republicans jumped over. That is one of the largest NGOs known for funding the Democratic Party nonsense, deep state nonsense. And 81 Republicans jumped over and funded that BS. And now it's going to go to the Senate where it'll get passed, and hopefully it's not passed with enough votes where Trump can still veto it. But the point is, I tell you all the time, the problem is not the Trump administration. They are doing everything they can. The problem is Congress. The Trump administration is as pure and MAGA focused. And by pure I mean they're vetted this time, not like the first administration. They are almost fully rat free, and they're purging the rest. They're good. They're knocking it all out, but the Congress is still deep state. A lot of it, enough of it to hold us up, and so we'll see how much Trump can overcome with that nonsense. But for now, Trump is focusing on what he can get done anyways. And that means law and order in the country and foreign policy, and still pushing the Republicans to the edge with policy threats, policy ideas that go to the people, and that could maybe cause enough pressure on them to give in. So, speaking of law and order, Trump dropped a hammer today, 10 o'clock. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota do not obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act in all caps, which many presidents have done before me, quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in this once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, this isn't the only time Trump's ever brought up the Insurrection Act. But as far as I can remember, it's the most he's ever threatened it in a statement like this, the strongest statement I've seen him use. Listen, these riots are starting to pick up, and they are not quite as bad as the George Floyd BLM riots, but they are getting there. One of the only reasons they're not as bad yet is because they haven't spread. But Minneapolis is going through it. Now, if Trump was the only one who said this, I'd be like, okay, well, let's see what happens. You know, I'm still not quite sure we're there yet, but it just kept continuing. So if you guys don't know what the Insurrection Act is, here's from Q Post in May of 2020. Insurrection Act of 1807, determination the various state and local authorities are not up to the task of responding to the growing unrest. Call the ball. Last time it was used was 1992 for the LA riots over Rodney King. And yeah, it's been 33 years. Think about that. That's wild. But long held up under court. The Supreme Court's held it. It's obviously in the wheelhouse. And once they cross that line, guys, the Supreme Court just last month told Trump with the National Guard that, listen, if you're using the National Guard for certain things, you just need to go ahead and invoke the Insurrection Act. That came out of Samuel Alito's mouth. So this has been building up. The case has been being built up. And now if these Minnesota rioters keep pushing it, I think we're going to see some sparks. Kristi Noem had something to say about this today. So listen to what Kristi is saying, that and you can tell it's not just Trump.
Do you have any plans to pull out of Minnesota?
No plans to pull out of Minnesota.
How would you describe what you were seeing on the ground there? Would you describe it as an insurrection, and do you believe the president should invoke the Insurrection Act?
I describe it as violent and a violation of the law in many places. I discussed with the president this morning several things that we are dealing with under the department and different operations. We did discuss the Insurrection Act. He certainly has the constitutional authority to utilize that. My hope is that this leadership team in Minnesota will start to work with us to get criminals off the street.
Do you have any plans to pull out?
There's Kristi talking about Insurrection Act. They've been going through it. And this is the most interesting one I heard yet. Here's Tom Homan.
Is it time for the Insurrection Act, or would that just add gasoline to the fire?
Well, I'm not going to get ahead of the president on that, but it's certainly an option, a viable option. So actually, I'll be meeting with the president tomorrow. So, you know, I think it's something that needs to be on the table, because this cannot continue. There is going to be more bloodshed. I'm telling you. I hope I'm wrong, but I haven't been yet. There's going to be more bloodshed if something hasn't done.
It's going to spread, and most Minnesotans, by the way, and I want to say this tonight because folks have reached out to me, support ICE. It's this radical group of anarchists, and when you see them close up, you really get a sense of who they are. It's this crowd, a lot of them paid, a lot of them working, double shifts of protest, against the rest of the state, which are reasonable, common sense, peaceful people of all backgrounds, including immigrant backgrounds. They don't like what's happened in the Twin Cities, and we're going to expose more about Jacob Fry in a moment. But, Tom, I think most people are good people. They just want...
Working double shifts as protests. We know that to be absolutely true. Well, all this Insurrection Act talk has got somebody spooked. Tim Walz came out today. It says, I'm making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. Is not who we are. appeal to Minnesotans. I know it's scary. We must loudly, urgently, but peacefully. We cannot fan the flames of chaos. That's what he wants. This is Tim Walz telling his peeps, guys, if you don't stop it, he will invoke the Insurrection Act, and we're done. See, Trump, the only reason he's held out this far is because he has to, everything he does is so extreme. He's pushing the boundaries so much. He's breaking norms and traditions so often that when he really goes for it, he has to know the people are on his side. He has to know the people support him, because if the people don't support him and his base pulls out and they don't understand, listen, for everybody that's like watching this show that is excited about the Insurrection Act and is like, please, let's do this. You guys have been awake for a while. Congratulations. It's a blessing and a curse to be awake. But for every one of you that is awake and understands what this means and understands how this could be the thing that finally really ramps up to destroy the deep state, destroy the left, the Democratic Party once and for all. For everybody who understands that, there are 50 other people in the country who don't. And we're just not there yet. And a lot of those people are Trump supporters. But they have a limit, a lot of those Trump supporters, because they're supporting him for policy. They're supporting him for just getting the country back. They don't want to see chaos. And if he plays it wrong, he could go from having 50, 60% of the country supporting him to 20% of the country supporting him. And then the Republicans spring, the deep state Republicans, along with the Democrats, and they make him a lame duck president. We cannot allow that to happen. And so Trump's smart about all this, and he's more patient than all of us are. And honestly, it keeps paying off. It means wait longer, but it does eventually pay off almost every time. And there's still more time to know for the times that haven't paid off yet. So I'm not worried about it. But I will tell you, this is getting close. These riots are getting out of control. Thank God, since Elon now has X, this is not going to be like 2020 where the mainstream media still drove the narrative, even with the BLM riots, which, listen, that still kind of blew up in their faces by the end of the year. It just got too out of control. But we didn't have control of X at that time, which was Twitter back then. There was a few people reporting on it honestly on YouTube and stuff. A lot of them got banned. Same people trying to report honestly on COVID. Good luck. And so it was harder to get the news back then. Now, X is the center of the news universe. And Elon makes sure that everything is still available to be posted. Now, I know there's some chicanery on X sometimes. Some things get throttled. But overall, you can still get it out there. All right? And that's important. This time, while the mainstream media is trying to run cover and turn everybody against ICE, we are all seeing the craziness. We can see it because it's right in front of us on X. And things are getting crazy. Luckily, people are looking into it. Walter Kurt from Dispatch writes this: when are we going to start cutting off the tax-exempt status of supposed NGOs who do nothing but fund unrest in our nation, including anti-ICE protests? My team just linked a massive Obama-led NGO directly to the ICE riots. Their primary lawyer, Mark Elias, a lot of you will recognize that name. Further details publishing later, and Data Republican backs it up. Can confirm our suspicions are right. Zero about this organic. Keep an eye out. This is why we need the Insurrection Act. Since this isn't organic, it's going to keep building. They will take every little bit of opportunity they can to ramp things up, and it's going to get crazy if Trump doesn't act. Now, it doesn't mean he has to call the Insurrection Act. We'll see how it works out, but I think, guys, it truly is as close as we've come. And look where we're at. I mean, this is tonight. They're trying to tear down the fence surrounding the ICE facility. They're trying to take the fight to them. How crazy is that? From Nick Sorter, one of the best independent journalists on the ground, Riders are attempting to break down a fence outside the Minneapolis ICE facility. Another rider jumped in and says, we don't have the numbers yet. You understand? This is just the beginning for them. So, Mr. President, I know you're not watching, but if you are, listen, I trust you. I trust what you want to do out there. I believe you probably have a plan in all this, but I got to say, if the only thing holding you back from calling out the Insurrection Act is fear, when it actually would be the best thing, please, 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 God, let him have the boldness to call it forth, because we don't want to do this again. We don't want another 2020. We want to put this down once and for all, especially because, guys, none of these people, it's not organic. This is an actual insurrection against our country. They have cells. They call them together. There was a video the other day of a person caught on camera admitting they were paid to be there. Another one where they were claiming, bragging about how much money they were making being there. I mean, it's insane. The fact that there's still people who don't know this, that think these people are organic when all this is going on, wake up. And it's our job to get it out there. It's our job to share these videos. It's our job to make people understand. Because if Trump does his job, well, that's knocking all this out. That's running the law and order. That's cleaning up our country. But the only way he gets to do it, if it really, really ramps up, and the only way he can do it successfully is if the people stay on his side, which means we have to do our job too and get out the word, keep sharing stuff. The Insurrection Act goes into effect, all of a sudden we can have military on the ground and things will really ramp up. I don't think it's coincidence that this week the Clintons ditched out on a hearing, so now they can be a contempt of Congress, and you can put a warrant out for their arrest. I don't think that's coincidence that happened the same right after Valerie Good was shot by the ICE agent, And listen, it's her fault. It's a tragedy because we don't want American citizens dying, but it's her fault. She chose to follow this radical left bandwagon and threaten an officer with her car, and that's what you get. It's terrible, but it's true. And nobody wants that, but it's just, right after Venezuela, we have so much going on around the world. Trump's ramping up the Greenland thing. We have Europe now sending troops to Greenland. France just announced they're sending troops. This is this is what a buildup looks like before a conclusion. If you were writing the movie script for all of this, this is how you build it up. Think about like the great movies, the great conclusion movies. Think about, Return of the Jedi, when, you got 3 different battles going on. There's like going on to Endor, there's a battle, and then there's the space battle, and then there's Luke and Vader, but it's all the positioning. Everything comes into place, and then you get the epic finale. Well, that's kind of what it's starting to feel like, isn't it? You have everything ramping up foreign policy-wise. Europe starting to freak out more and more. Trump goes to Davos in 10 days, in a week or 10 days, somewhere in that range. He's going over to the globalists, to their headquarters, at least their public headquarters, to call them out, tell them what he's up to. Venezuela taken out, Iran ramping up, and now this here at home. It just can't be coincidental, guys. It doesn't make sense. Speaking of the ramping up, well, the globalists are busy. They're very busy. And if we're heading to this direction, one of the reasons is because of the exposure. Look at this. RFK Jr. talking about his dad, or his uncle, I should say, and Trump and dealing with the deep state. You're going to want to watch this one.
You at least negotiate. My uncle realized in 1962 that he was surrounded by war hawks in his intelligence apparatus and his military brass. And he realized that they knew nothing about Khrushchev and that they were telling him things about Khrushchev that they didn't know, and that he needed to begin talking to Khrushchev directly. He began corresponding with him secretly. They exchanged 26 different letters, and then he installed a hotline so that he could talk to him directly. And I grew up with that hotline in our house at the Cape. But he always said, if you want peace, you've got to understand your adversary. You've got to be able to talk to them. And Biden has never talked to Putin about this, and it's criminal. Putin has repeatedly said, I want peace, I want to negotiate, and nobody's there negotiating. In fact, Zelensky has now passed a law that makes it illegal to negotiate with Putin. I mean, imagine that. It's nobody wants that except for extremists, very, very right-wing extremists in Ukraine.
You hear that? Zelensky passed a law that you couldn't even negotiate with Putin. So think about that. I mean, here we have rioters who are actually trying to, I don't know if you guys saw the video where they were breaking into the ICE safe in the car, got a gun out. That guy just got busted right here. So he drove off with an ICE rifle. Here's where they bust into the car. Just insane stuff. I mean, you have this going on here. And then abroad, we have the Ukraine war, which they're trying to keep us sucked into. Iran, they're trying to suck us into. But this stuff is just, it's crazy how far they're willing to go. And again, it just proves they don't want peace. They want chaos. Chaos is what feeds this animal. Chaos is what keeps the people afraid. Chaos is what causes us to retreat and allow things to happen to us. Because once you get the people spooked, just like COVID, you can get them to shut down. You can get them to go inside their houses and wear masks and stand 6 feet apart, believe nonsense, leave their jobs, shut down their businesses. I mean, you can do a lot when there's chaos. You can launder a lot of money. COVID was the biggest wealth transfer from middle class and poorer people to the wealthy in world history. You have all the money laundering through the defense departments, the stimulus that's pumped into governments during wartime. It's all purposeful. It's all for a reason, and it's all their operating procedure, how they've always done it, forever and ever. And so what happens? Well, Trump's basically been calling the Insurrection Act worldwide. That's why he's been tamping down all these wars. He's been doing the tactical strikes without boots on the ground, which is brilliant. The Iranian thing that just happened, they're working through that somehow. There's a lot of talks going on. There's been talks with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Israel. There's a lot going on with that. But those states, see, Saudi Arabia especially, and Qatar, they're all previously controlled by deep state, UK, globalists. Saudi Arabia is now freed of that, thanks to Trump in 2017. I don't know if even you guys remember that story, when all the Saudi princes got busted, fell down, and then Mohammed bin Salman, stepped up. But regardless, one of the reasons we have such a close relationship with the Saudis now since Trump, but it's all shifting. Everything worldwide is just going nuts, and it's because they're losing. And we're witnessing this conglomeration of coordination of attacks in all these different areas. It's ramping up. And yet, I don't know if you guys can sense it. It kind of feels under control. This does not feel, I don't know, that's at least from my perspective, this does not feel as chaotic as 2020. It doesn't feel as chaotic as during the Biden years. It feels like I'm watching a movie, which is interesting because that was back in the old posts as well. It's the whole Scott Adams thing as well. It does feel like that this time. It feels like all this is happening. We're watching from a movie, and we're seeing that Trump could be pulling this off. But if you've ever doubted that it's actually Europe that's the bad guys, well, Tucker Carlson had this very interesting interview with one of the highest ranking Russians under Putin, who's retired now, but was under Putin for a while. And we learned some very interesting things. Here's number one. I'm not going to actually play the clip, but I want to read this to you guys. Chrystia Freeland, currently unpaid economic advisor to Zelensky in Ukraine, that admitted every leader in Ukraine running the country was bought and paid for by George Soros with him by her side. How crazy is that? Soros running Ukraine. There's that one. And then there's Karaganov saying, if the Ukraine war continues at this tempo for a year or two more, we, Russia, will eliminate the UK and Germany with nuclear weapons. Think about that phrase for a second. Why would they say in a couple years they would eliminate them? Well, think about it. In a couple years, if the Ukraine war is still continuing, that means Trump failed. And so what he's saying is that things are so bad in Europe. The globalist elite, City of London, whatever you want to call them, they have many different names. They're all the same thing, though. The cabal has such deep hold in London, World Economic Forum, Davos, whatever you want to call them, again, that they are so evil that Russia is ready that if Trump fails, if this operation fails, they will just nuke them because they're done. That's a crazy thought. And to me, I'm not actually worried about it getting there. But to me, this is just more, I feel like the more we listen, the more we pay attention, the more we see these people coming out to talk and you understand the threat to them, the more it keeps pointing back to Europe, the Devogians. But it also is very interesting. For a long time now, I've believed, and several others have, that Putin, whether you like him or not, you don't have to like him. You don't even have to think he's a good person. You can think he's a dictator. But there's one thing that you cannot disagree with once you study him. It's that he loves Russia and he wants Russia to be sovereign. And when you realize that, it makes a whole lot of sense why Trump has been so favorable to Putin in so many ways. Doesn't mean he hasn't been tough with him at times, but he's been favorable towards him, actually talking with him, meeting with him in Alaska. First time Putin had, as far as I know, ever been on American soil. Crazy stuff. It makes sense if you all think that, or you recognize that they both have the biggest real enemy together. Like we have the same enemy and it's not each other. And that is this globalist cabal. Now, I think they're losing. I think this is the year they finally break. And it doesn't mean there won't be stragglers. It doesn't mean they won't fight back. It doesn't mean they won't try new things. But I think this is the year they're actually finally going to lose their actual deep holds on everything, where their power structure is finally going to break and they will lose all of it. And that's why they're so desperate now. The Venezuela attack of Maduro and kidnapping of Maduro, the way we went in, the way we just knocked them out and they had no chance. The reports of the technology we used is so advanced. The way we shocked the world by doing that, we broke up the CIA hold that their operating center, which had been Venezuela, the the connection for the oil getting out to Canada, to the Russian connections, the China connections. You put all that together and look at it, and it's pretty clear that that was Trump saying, we're breaking your hold. We're breaking all your backdoor ways of affecting us, of having a hold in our area on our back door. And Greenland's the next part of that. We get Greenland, then all of a sudden we have almost the entire Western Hemisphere, except for Canada. Canada is the last place where the globalists will really have a hold. And thankfully we don't have to worry about them too much, because they're not scary. They're puppets, but they don't have much going on. Canada's about to fall on its own. Mexico is not globalist. They're not controlled by the cabal. They're controlled by their own problem, the cartels. It's a whole different animal, but we'll be taking them out soon too, especially because all that money that had been being filtered up from Venezuela through the drug trade up through our country, that's all being stopped by Scott Bessent. All that money that's being laundered, $500 billion. I think it was $580 billion being laundered through our stock markets and through real estate purchases, through the investment houses buying up the single family homes. Yeah, a lot of that is laundered cartel money. Lots of people's minds blowing right now. It is. And that's all getting dried up. Why do you think Trump attacked that? It's not just to get prices down. It's to also break this money that's being laundered by the cartels, the globalists getting their cut. They're all working together. You can see the angles. It's wild. It's just cutting all the angles everywhere. It's all starting to fall apart, and that's why they're getting more and more desperate, and that's why they're ramping things up. Well, the thing is, they ramp stuff up. We're going to ramp stuff up too. David says, Mexico has ties with Israel and China. I heard Mexico is getting guns from Ukraine. It's possible. I mean, their current president is Jewish, but I haven't seen any ties to Israel that are too close. The thing with Israel, guys, is Israel is not the bad guy. Israel does bad stuff, but Israel's intelligence agencies are used by the globalists. They're infiltrated, but Israel itself as a full country, and not all of its leadership, Netanyahu, take them or leave them, but they're not the big bad. That's why we can't go full Israel tard. Israel's involved in everything, because they're not. They are sometimes used by them, though. But I believe that Trump's been breaking that. And that's one of the reasons I believe Trump's kept them close, because there is an element of Israel that actually could be very good for us to be allied with. And so the question is how far do we let it go? And I believe Trump's handling all that. I really do. In fact, he just announced today the thing that everybody said wouldn't hold, the Gaza deal, it's moving from phase 1 to phase 2 now. And so that 20-point plan that Trump put together for the Israel-Gaza deal, already phase 1 is completed. We're moving into phase 2. That piece is now held, and it's been 4 months. And everybody thought it'd be over in weeks. So it's progressing. And Trump is, and we have, I just reported it last night, Israel is even talking to Iran about not striking each other. And Israel has been the one, apparently, talking to the Trump administration saying, let's not strike them. We don't want to destabilize the region right now. Isn't that a whole different Israel than last summer? Yeah, very different stuff. Very interesting how that tone has shifted. See, people like to jump on the Trump's controlled by Israel train, but we're not the ones who changed. Israel's been the one changing, if you're actually paying attention. Just saying, that's how the facts are. China loaned Carney's company Brookfield $200 million. Well, China is very interesting in all this. China hates the globalists because China wants to be sovereign as well. But the globalists have no control over China at all. China is still its own thing, always has been. They're out on their own. And so China will gladly deal with whoever enriches them. They will. They don't give a bleep. And so China loves to have leverage at every opportunity over the U.S. and over Europe. Well, Trump has been working on getting them out of the U.S. for years. You know, the Obama administration, the Clintons were selling secrets to the Chinese. Biden was practically owned by the Chinese. His son's getting money from the Chinese. His son's getting money from Ukraine. They're just everywhere. The Chinese are bad actors to us, but they're separate. So we have two great enemies, really. It is the globalists and it's China. And what's wild is that China is not as bad as the globalists. They have less control here. So, you know, you take out one at a time, you go the first one at a time, and you get there. But yeah, Carney's not only he's not only someone who loves to take money from China. He also is an investment international banker with deep ties to the Europeans. He is hardcore globalist. He's hardcore cabal deep stater. And yeah, it's crazy. So I already showed this post. There's another post where this guy Karaganov, he talks about how godless Europe has become, how they've completely abandoned God, and it's just his language is very interesting because these people are very anti-God, anti-Christianity, anti any faith except for themselves, and I'll say it, they're Satanist leanings. They are all about humanism and Satanism, and that's what's propelling all this. It's how they act. It's how they like to conduct their ritualism. And some of them are, it's very complicated. I'm not going to go into all tonight, but they're secular, but they're Satanists. It's weird, but that's actually how it gets written out. If you read the writings of what's his face? I can't think of the names right now, but it works out that way. But these guys are terrible people, and the Russians are just trying to preserve themselves. So they have an ally in Trump, and you've never seen Europeans more scared than when they talk about Russia. England or UK hates Russia. They've been trying to take out Russia since the 1800s. Russia, before the Soviet Union, was a great ally of ours. Helped the North in the Civil War, helped us in the Revolutionary War. They've always been there for us until the Soviet Union. Our great enemy was England until World War II. Interesting, all that all plays together. England's never gotten over that we ditched them. They've never gotten over it. He's the cabal's banker, says Carney. Yes, yeah. Crowley, thank you, Eric. Aleister Crowley, that's right. Yep, the guy who wrote the Satanist Handbook, Satanist Bible. Forbidden Planet says Bloodlines of the Illuminati is a good book to read. I've heard of that. I haven't actually gotten to read it. I'll have to check that out. The thing is, and I'll say this about all that stuff, the Illuminati, all the deep conspiracy stuff, a lot of it is noise. And that's the hardest thing to parse through. Now, I've been doing this now for almost a decade and went real deep. And I chased a lot of rabbit holes. And some of them are very salacious and interesting, but they lead nowhere. So it's important to be able to parse through it all. Illuminati stuff's really interesting until they start trying to like tie the founding fathers to it with like very little evidence. And you just get a lot of that stuff. So I'm always careful when it comes to the Illuminati stuff because that's just overused now and abused. But in general, yeah, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. Like I said, they like to use different names, but they also like to throw out propaganda for a couple things. A, they want you to believe lies about them because then they can prove you're crazy when they disprove the rabbit hole we go down. And the other thing they like to do is like to push out propaganda that makes you think they're much, much more powerful than they actually are. And one of the great lies that has come out of this whole globalist cabal nonsense. Like what they wanted us to believe is that it's hopeless. You can't beat them, that they're everywhere, but that's not true. And Trump's proving it. And Trump is doing it with glee. He's got a smile on his face as he's doing all this because he knows he's winning. And in fact, he knows that if he keeps the boot on their neck, there's no coming back for him. It's all going to fall apart. And in fact, Trump did. I cannot wait to see what this is because it's very mysterious right now. But Trump just announced this tonight. It's my great honor to announce the Board of Peace. The members of the board will be announced shortly. I can say with certainty it's the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled at any time, any place. What on earth could this be? We know that Trump's done with the UN as much as possible. We know that he basically is out of NATO, even though we haven't officially done anything. But the pushing on Greenland kind of proves it. If you didn't believe it already, the way he's treated NATO over the years. And now we have this mysterious new Board of Peace. Is this global? Is this local? Is this domestic? I have no idea. But I can tell you, this sounds something very strategic. And when Trump says, like, the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled, that gets my ears perked up a little bit. Again, none of this timing is coincidental. He's announcing this the same day he announced he might invoke the Insurrection Act. Is this a new alliance they're forming? Is this a board of people that's symbolic of like a new UN, a new worldwide alliance of some sort? I don't know, but this is fascinating stuff. Brett says there better not be anybody from Fenrir Citadel on the board. It's Ken Griffin, man. He's letting Ken Griffin on. Remember when I used to get all the people who were like, Ken Griffin and Trump are best friends? And then like the next day, some story came out about how much Ken Griffin hates Trump, and Trump called him something to like F him or something like that. Anyways, it was hilarious how that all worked out. I don't think you got to worry about it. Brett, thank you. Remind everybody, please like and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing. I got more. We're going to get into some wins in a second here and just more proof that we are winning bigly moving forward. But Eric says global peace is an aspect of Nasara. You know, I don't believe in the Nasara-Gassara stuff. I just don't. But it's one of those I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but I won't believe it till I see it. And I also don't think we're ever going to get full global peace. But I do think we could have an alliance if we destroy the cabal or completely defang them. That as we make an alliance with Russia, which is going to happen. Once the Ukraine war is over, Trump and Putin are going to open up an alliance. It's going to be a trade alliance, and who knows how deep it'll go. But that's part of what they were planning in Alaska, and it's going to open up great wealth to both countries. And we're going to have our relationship with Russia restored over the next several years. But we got to get the Ukraine war over. And again, we just saw it. Zelensky controlled by Soros, which is exactly what we've all believed this whole time. And then passing laws that they can't even negotiate peace with Russia. So it's got to keep going as long as they can. But we'll see how it ends. Okay, I wasn't going to go there today, Forbidden Planet, but I'm going to have to. Forbidden Planet in the chat says, did Candace Owens really say Charlie Kirk was a time traveler? Yes. She alluded to it, and that he was basically like an X-Men. And I tell you what, man, ever since Candace got fully exposed and people woke up to her nonsense, including Alex Jones. Once Alex Jones started calling off Candace, oh my God, it just fell apart for her. Once all the Candace stuff happened, she's now making some real stretch. It's getting crazier and crazier over there. And I don't even pay that much attention anymore, but I could not avoid that because Tim Pool did a great video on it. And it was pretty hilarious. Also, Charlie came back to her in a dream and gave her some details. So there's always that. Okay, let's move on. So Trump today, again, timing is not coincidental. Trump today announced his big health care plan. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, so I'm going to actually play the whole clip so you can hear it. But this is Trump stealing the Democrats' single largest issue where they are leading. He just ripped it away from them today by doing this official I have a healthcare plan. And now it's on the Republicans to actually do something about this. This is major, and this is also going to be a huge, huge push into the midterms. If the economy is roaring and the Republicans actually get something done on healthcare, this is going to be the midterms will be red will gain. And so again, the globalists are like, oh man, we could get the midterms, and they're hoping they squeak one out. And yet Trump is just deftly outmaneuvering them at every opportunity. But in case you haven't seen the healthcare plan, here's President Trump. Here's President Trump sharing it so you guys can see what he's offering.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my plan to lower healthcare prices for all Americans and truly make healthcare affordable again. We're doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan. Instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket. The government is going to pay the money directly to you. It goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care. Nobody's ever heard of that before, and that's the way it is. The big insurance companies lose, and the people of our country win. This proposal locks in the massive discounts on prescription drugs that my administration is achieving through our most favored nation drug pricing agreement. Now, when you hear about that, for 40 years they've been trying to do it, but they never were able to do it. No other president was able to do it. I got every other country to approve it by the use of tariffs and other things. They all approved it. Nobody else got it. No other president got it. And for the most part, they didn't even try because they felt it was impossible. It'll bring down drug prices 80, 90%, in some cases, just numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. Your prescription drugs will come way, way down. And under this policy, the prices of many drugs will be slashed by 300, 400, and even 500% starting this month at the TrumpRx.gov. So instead of Americans paying the highest drug prices in the world, which we have for decades, we will now be paying the lowest cost paid by any other nation. So any other nation that's paying the lowest cost, that's what we're going to pay. And the American people will get the savings. So I have to reiterate, the lowest price in the world is what you're going to pay. Before, you were paying the highest price in the world by far, and the politicians did nothing about it. So I'm asking Congress to complete the work that we've started. Next, my plan would reduce your insurance premiums by stopping government payoffs to big insurance companies and sending that money directly to the people. Obamacare was designed to make insurance companies rich. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act, with billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies that helped their stock prices skyrocket over 1,700%. As you paid more money for health care every single year, more and more, the premiums went higher and higher. I want to end this flagrant scam and put extra money straight into the healthcare savings account in your name, and you go out and buy your own healthcare, and you'll make a great deal. You get better healthcare for less money. That way you can choose the care that is right for your family. To further reduce insurance premiums, my plan ends the giant kickbacks to insurance brokers and corporate middlemen that only drive up the costs, and that's what they're intended to do, drive up the cost. But we're driving down the costs. And it fully funds a long neglected part of the law known as the Cost Sharing Reduction Program. This measure alone should cut premiums on the most popular Obamacare plans. It's hard to believe there are any, because it's a hated program. It's unaffordable. but it's going to cut them by an average of 10 to 15%. Next, the Great Healthcare Plan. That's the name. It's called the Great Healthcare because it's great healthcare at a lower price. Mandates unprecedented accountability and transparency from insurance companies and all healthcare providers so that special interests can no longer profiteer at your expense. As the saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That is why my plan orders all insurance companies to publish rate and coverage comparisons in very plain English. It requires insurers to publish detailed information about how much of your money they're going to be paying out in claims versus how much they're taking in profits. In other words, you will be able to watch the scam. It forces them to release detailed data on how many claims are being denied and whether those denials are eventually overturned on appeal. And most importantly, it will require any hospital or insurer who accepts Medicare or Medicaid to prominently post all prices at their place of business so that you are never surprised and you can easily shop for a better deal or better care. And you're going to end up doing both. You're going to get a better deal and better care. We will have maximum price transparency and costs will come down incredibly. I'm calling on Congress to pass this framework into law without delay. Have to do it right now so that we can get immediate relief to the American people, the people I love. Thank you very much.
Wild. It's absolutely wild. I mean, you guys understand what he's doing right there? In a way, it's not completely this, but in a way, he's basically getting healthcare privatized again, because by diverting the funds into the people's accounts and then allowing them to pick and choose and getting full transparency from insurance companies and pricing, that it creates competition. So this is genius. This is the way to get healthcare back to being privatized again in general. It's the beginning of the end of this idea of universal government-controlled healthcare. It's putting the canary in the coal mine to sniff it out, but it's got a ticking time bomb on it, because this will eventually, people will get used to it, healthcare going down, choosing prices, see what a scam the insurance companies have been, how much they're profiting, and then they'll love having the ability to choose. It'll revolutionize everything, and it's a very smart way to get it back in the people's hands, because it's going to start with government funding. That's how you do it. That's how you start undoing what we have. Because as of right now, if you told everybody, hey, we're getting the government out of healthcare and you're paying for it on your own and we're going full privatized system again, even though, yes, eventually prices would get lower and a lot would be fixed in the healthcare system, the people would never vote for it, because we're all hooked on, not all of us, but America in general is hooked on this, what Obamacare did. Obamacare was put in place to fail on purpose to get us to universal health care, and Trump's flipping the script on it and going the opposite direction. It's absolutely brilliant, while also being something that everybody will vote for. All the people are going to love, because they hate insurance companies, they hate getting surprise medical bills, and they'll love being able to have money in their own accounts, health savings accounts, to use, picking their own plans and everything. So it's actually genius. It's genius, and I was kind of floored when I heard it today. So this is a huge win. It's a huge win how this is going to happen, and I cannot wait to see how this plays out, because the Republicans are going to have a really hard time running away from this, because it's going to be hugely popular if it gets out there. Zegrim says, I wonder if this will help people with employee-provided health insurance. I don't know. I'm sure there's something in there. But Ham says, 38 years, market been broken. Trump changed the drug prices after 40 years. Hidden message there. There might be. Brett says, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, where are they going to get their kickbacks from now? Where's a lot? I mean, listen, with Maha movement and going after the vaccine schedule and helping people get healthy, Big Pharma is losing billions and will lose way more over the next few years. So Big Pharma is going to have to very much adjust to making less money. That's going to cut out a lot of the lobbying there, a lot of lobbyist money. And then Trump right now breaking up the insurance companies this way, it's going to be great. And not that all insurance companies are bad or that insurance is a bad thing. That's not my point. The point is it's become a racket. It's become overpriced. It's abused. The Obamacare set up the insurance companies to make tons and tons of money, just getting money straight from the government. So they all their stocks are up like 1,200% the last 15 years. It's all become a racket because of Obamacare. Eric, I don't care. I'm not mad at insurance agencies. It's the company or insurance agents. They're just doing their job, selling stuff. But listen, man, you got to stop defending all the wrong people. Yeah. Like the credit card thing. I gotta give you a hard time. Moody says, I know a couple that go to Florida every winter, cost them $45,000 for 4 months in the U.S. $45,000, man, what are they renting? That's crazy. All right, let's keep going through some of the wins. Today announced trade deal with Taiwan. Now this is massive. So tariffs on Taiwan go down to 15%. Taiwan, their government's investing $250 billion into us, and now their chip and technology companies are investing $250 billion into the U.S. For jobs, factories, etc. But you know what this really is about? This is about keeping China out of Taiwan. Because now, why do you think the Taiwanese were so eager to do a deal this big? $500 billion. That's a lot for a small country, but they're a very wealthy country, first of all, because of all the chips and everybody needing them. But they also know that by strategically partnering with the U.S. in a very strong bond, this keeps China away. Because now, if China messes with Taiwan now, they're directly impacting the U.S. That's an assault on one of our allies now. How crazy is that? And it's also brilliant. Not only does it invest a lot of money in the U.S., it's going to bring good jobs here, et cetera, but it also now keeps China out. China has to think. They're already thinking twice before going into Taiwan. Now they have to think thrice. It's so just a brilliant move by Trump there. And now energy. Tomorrow, an unprecedented move. President Trump is expected to announce emergency power auction, force technology giants to pay for new power plants. Initiative is expected to construct $15 billion worth of new power plants. PJM, nation's largest grid operator, leading the initiative with Trump, was stated before this year will be largely about affordability. Ongoing electricity crisis facing due to AI demand only get worse without intervention. Like I told you guys, with this, bringing the private companies in and they're going to be responsible for their own power. We're going to see innovation. We're going to see attempts at more nuclear energy. If you want the best of the best, you get the private sector to do it. These are the biggest tech companies in the world. Some of the richest companies in the world, some of the smartest companies in the world. You better believe they're going to invest in the best energy in the world because they want to keep their energy cheaper as well. It's better profit line that way. So what's the cheapest, best energy? Nuclear. If Trump, again, this is like going through the back door to get done what you want to do. But if Trump gets these guys to all build nuclear power plants, and all of a sudden we get crazy cheap energy everywhere, I mean, that's amazing. And the government doesn't have to build it. All they got to do is sign the permits. So that's wild. And again, just brilliant tactical moves here by the president. Use that AI bubble to fix America's power grid. I mean, come on, it's amazing. If you can't see what he's doing, you know it. I don't know what to tell you. It's so obvious. This is not helping those companies that much. It's not. They would be happy to jump on the current power grid, pay the prices, of higher electricity and then force all of our electrical bills to go up 100%. They'd be happy to do that. They don't mind, because then they don't have to put in infrastructure. But Trump not only is bringing attention to this, now that it's public, these companies are not going to be able to get away with taking our energy. Everybody will blame them, get pissed off at them and ruin them. Instead, he's using it, making it public, putting the pressure on, and so getting them to cough up money that's ultimately going to go towards innovating and fixing our power grid and making energy cheaper. Just beautiful stuff. D6 says, don't forget DJT, Trump's company, merged with a fusion company as well. So yeah, I mean, holy cow. We start seeing fusion down the road. I mean, Trump truly is. All these moves are so strategic and like long thinking. He's strategizing long term. These are real fixes. These are not Band-Aid fixes. These are real fixes that set stuff up to be better for all of us long term. And he's doing it so creatively. It's creative genius for solving problems. It's not just, oh, the government's going to go in and build stuff. Nope. We'll make these companies build it while they're also powering our economy. We'll get them to build it. Taiwan, everybody's worried about China going into Taiwan. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get Taiwan to build some jobs here, and in exchange, they know they're protected by us because now they have a tie with us. It's just everything is so outside the box, and it's all the stuff people said he couldn't do without becoming like a tyrant. No, and what he's doing is deal making. I love seeing it in action. Today we got jobless claims, lowest level since 1969. Crazy. So the economy, which is, it's not where we want it to be. It's not roaring yet. It's not like everybody's finding good new jobs, but people aren't losing their jobs unless you're illegal. So we get those job numbers in. They're not like soaring up, but at the same time, people are holding their jobs. That's still not recession. That's still a good sign. And so this is more pressure on the Fed to lower rates because inflation is in check. It's going down. So what do? The next thing is we got to get employment roaring, get that production going, get the investment in the economy going. And that's time to lower rates. And I'm telling you guys, this year by fall, this economy is going to be booming. We're going to have the 250th year economic boom. This is just more signs that it's coming. More signs it's coming. Moody says, imagine what the world will look like in 3 years. Absolutely. I mean, in 3 years, Trump is leaving. J.D. Vance just won the election. He's about to come in. Trump's going to leave us with an amazing foundation for a new future. And J.D. Vance is going to usher it in major ways. Trump is definitely moving his chess pieces everywhere. It's incredible stuff. And then I didn't cover this last night. I didn't get to it. But yesterday, the Supreme Court held that candidates for office can challenge rules governing elections. In other words, the Supreme Court just said it's okay to challenge elections, even if you're a political candidate, even if you're a politician. Well, that just made it so that everything Trump did, nobody could ever complain about him, complain about the election again. It's legal now. It's legal. So just another incredible win. Look, guys, we're heading in such a good direction. You can just see it one after the other. With the Supreme Court again, I told you with the tariffs being pushed off to June, I'm telling you, it's 99.9% now they're going to uphold Trump's tariffs. 99.9%. And what may happen is they give a very nuanced ruling. So they might like curb some of it while ultimately keeping his ability to usher these tariffs for foreign policy in check so that he can use it still. And there might be like a couple like small limitations here and small there. And then Trump will be like, huge win. I can still usher tariffs and it's barely cut off. That's exactly what I expect to happen. But the fact that they pushed it off till June tells me Trump's going to win. Because there's no way If they were going to strike it down, they'd be rushing to strike it down because they can't afford more and more of that money coming in that would have to be refunded. So Trump's going to win the tariff battle. And if he wins the tariff battle, he wins the battle to reset the entire financial system, because that is the big swinging bat that he needs to break it all up, because we're so interconnected globally. We're a globalist system that the Keynesians wanted, that started, it started a long time ago, but it really ramped up with Clinton in the 90s with the free trade. And then Obama obviously sold us out to so many places. We're so interconnected now. Now Trump would basically have full authority to control the economy on the foreign side of things, which actually controls it here, because cutting all that off, it forces everybody to now invest here again to make it work here again. So building up that middle class, it's massive. There's so much winning going on since 2006 started, and we're only 15 days in. Man, 2026 shaping up to be a beautiful year. Hallelujah. Year 250, looking good for America. I'm loving it. And to go through this, let's see here. Dan Bongino posted this to emphasize what I'm saying. I've been receiving a lot of calls and messages over the past few days. The tide isn't turning. Tide's already turned. That's the key right there. Tide isn't turning. The tide has already turned. Movements evolve, mature as time passes. Path is rarely linear. We'll get there. I'm proud to stand with you all in the fight against this cancer. Absolutely. But that's the key right there. Tide is already turned. So we're heading into this. We're about to have an economic boom. Foreign policy is looking great. We're going to have Greenland soon in one way, shape, or form. It's coming together. The Venezuela thing, just can't wait till we start seeing oil go way down once that all starts pumping out. I mean, just thank God for a second, guys. Mike Cernovich wrote today, like, coming into 2026, those of us who went through the wilderness cannot believe how good things are on this side of things. And it was a great little statement, because he said, like, you never fully win, but the fact we get to keep on fighting and we're progressing is the win right there. We are winning. We've already won, but there's more winning to go, and we got to keep it going if we want to see it through. The thing we cannot do is take our eye off the ball. We have to keep winning this time and never stop. So Insurrection Act could be coming really soon. That's going to be it's going to be intense, but that could bring with it a massive win against entrenched deep state assets here in the U.S. And that'd be cleanup time. Clear them all out. That could start leading, as that ramps up, could lead to arrests of politicians and other leaders, people who behind the scenes, puppet masters. You never know. We don't know what it's going to look like, but I got to tell you, I'm here for the ride. I'm excited about the ride. The journey has been glorious, and now that we're on the side where we actually have the momentum, it's really a lot of fun. And if you agree with that statement, hit that like, if you don't mind. Hit that like and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys supporting that channel and tonight's video with that. Repost if you're on X. Don't forget that. Last thing, though, I want to talk about before we end tonight is that with all this winning, there's still going to be some bumps. And it's still going to get intense. Actually, real quick, I just saw a comment in the chat I want to address before I move on. David asks, why do I think Dan Bongino left? I'll tell you why. I think Dan was always going to only be there for a year. I believe that's what he said the commitment was from the beginning. And I think Dan, he wants to be on the air. I think ultimately he wants to be speaking to the people. And I think they timed it perfectly, because coming into this new year with all the psyops that went on at the end of last year to try to ruin ruined Trump's momentum and, worked to some extent. But we had all the Candace Owens stuff. We had the Israel stuff really ramped up. We had the government shutdown. We had those elections in November. There was a full-on attack to divide MAGA and ruin the future of MAGA. They going after J.D. Vance. And it failed. I mean, look at where we're at now. Nobody's talking about any of that stuff anymore. Now it'll come back around, but it ultimately failed. They did not achieve what they wanted. But Dan now is the ultimate person to speak to all this stuff because he's been on the inside. He's the one Trump administration person, the one insider who's actually worked in Trump term 2, closely on the justice side of things, which is important because that's where a lot of the action is really happening, worked there. And now he's going to go back once his show gets going. He's got viewership of millions. And Dan now gets to be the perfect voice to destroy any of the psyops trying to lie about the Trump administration because he has the ultimate credential, which is that he was there. And he gets to say, you guys think this is happening? This is what really was happening. You guys think this is what they're doing now? No, I can tell you because I was there. That's not what they're planning. He's going to be the one who is going to be a voice to destroy the psyops and to calm people down. It's actually pretty brilliant if you think about it. There's a lot of people think he was pushed out or he was frustrated. No, I think it's the exact opposite. And, don't do the list thing. Come on. All right. So another person's asking, why no list? Well, first of all, if you've been paying attention this whole time, and because I've covered this a million times, there is no Epstein list. It doesn't exist, at least not the way you think it does. And people got to get over that. Everybody knows it's already out there who is involved with the Epstein stuff. We have the information. Millions of files have been released. And even before that, we had court documents. Ryan Dawson has done excellent investigative journalism on this. He had all the names ahead of time and they've come out. There is no list the way you think there is. And that is what Trump was calling the hoax. It's not that Epstein wasn't a bad dude. It's not that people involved with him weren't bad dudes. It's that what people were led to believe about the Epstein stuff was a hoax. And I've covered this a million times. You can go back, just search on my videos, go back and watch the Epstein videos. I've covered this in great, great detail. It's not what you think it was. And why do you think the Democrats are no longer talking about it? Because they got duped. Trump rope-a-doped them into asking for them. That came out and it was all bad for Democrats. And now the Democrats are very, very quiet about it. And Massey's out there still trying to get some attention on it, but even Massey has been proven as a fraud because he said, if this doesn't come out, I'm naming names, and then he didn't have any names to name. Uh-oh. So listen, if you're paying attention, the list does not exist the way you want it, the way you're asking for. So if you're going to go after Bongino at the list, well, it's just not what you think. It's not. And we're going to get more and more information. I believe the administration is going to use that information in timed batches to hurt the Democrats the most, the deep state the most. But it's ultimately now, because it's been passed through, because Trump signed the executive order on it as well. He signed the bill on it. Now it's fully in the administration's hands to be used as they want to use it. And that's power, especially if there is blackmail on these people. And so that's all I'm going to say on that. I've done the Epstein stuff so much. I can't, that's not what we're doing tonight. Okay. Last thing though, let's get to it before we go. The economy is going to be roaring by the end of this year. Bet. Watch it. Trump is cleaning up the foreign policy side of things, which is very important, even though it actually does impact us domestically, even though people are too myopic to see it. But here's the thing. There's going to be rocky stuff still. We might get into fights we don't want to get into. There might be stuff foreign policy-wise. Some of these countries are unpredictable. We don't know where it's going to go. So I'm not saying it's all going to be easy, but I am saying I feel I feel there's no way we lose this if we don't stop. But it doesn't mean it'll be easy. One of the rocky things coming, I think is inevitable, I don't think it's avoidable, is a major market correction or crash. I just don't see how we get around it. Now, I could be wrong. Trump could pull out some miracle. He's done it in other areas. But the reason I don't think this can be avoided is because I also don't know how the fraud is cleaned up on Wall Street without it happening. It will be the purge that's needed to fix us. It's like flushing out your system. I think it just has to happen. I think silver, more and more, it looks like silver could be the canary in the coal mine on this. The big warning and even a trigger. So there's a great post on it. It says, this hasn't happened before. I've been analyzing this 12 hours worse than I thought. Silver production, 800 million ounces per year. The banks are short 4.4 billion ounces. If silver keeps going up, biggest banks in America collapse. Here's what I uncovered. Yesterday, silver hit 92, then it dropped 6% in a few minutes, pumped back up to 91, now crashing again. I spent 20 years in these markets. Most people see a normal correction. I see a trap. At $90 an ounce, our combined short position is now $390 billion. Larger than the market cap most global banks. This is literally survival. Banks are doing everything they can to stay afloat. Why the dip? They had to do it because if it broke 100 yesterday, margin calls would have liquidated the banks. Now, I don't know if this is true. This is a post a friend shared with me, so I'm trusting this. But I can tell you that just from what I know about the markets, and I've been talking about silver for years, everybody knows that silver is oversold. The paper is way oversold over what the physical is. And so it's absolutely believable they are short 5 times what the actual amount of silver available is. It's absolutely believable. And at that, it's absolutely believable that the liquidity squeeze from it going up could break banks. So the reason I'm sharing this is because everything they're saying here, the math, it all adds up. It makes absolute sense. And it goes into exactly what I've been seeing and believing it could happen to the market soon. I just didn't know what the catalyst would be, and it could be silver. But listen here, unloaded paper contracts during thin overnight liquidity to force the price down. We'll look closer at the physical market. Paper price dropped 6. Lease rates went vertical. Cost to borrow physical skyrocketing. We're in backwardation. Spot price is greater than futures price. It means people don't want paper promise. They want the metal now. But this is terminal. At $90, recycling supply dries up because people hoard. Industrial demand inelastic, must buy at any price. Bank of America, Citi aren't just short, they're short the Industrial Revolution. Force majeure is next. Is it going to happen? He goes on to describe why he thinks it could happen soon. But listen, if this guy's right and silver holds up and it eventually forces covering or forces margin calls, we're already been in a liquidity crisis. It's the Fed's been doling out billions of dollars in reverse repo, very similar to 2019 or 2018 during the repo crisis. So we're seeing that liquidity drying up, and this nonstop growth in the stock market. It's been a long time since we had a correction. We've gone through the bank failures in 23. It's all been adding up, and at some point this bubble's got to pop. And my theory has been that Trump, the reason he hasn't gone after the market manipulators is because to Trump, the wealth of the middle class is very important. And a lot of the wealth of the middle class, especially older middle class, is in their 401ks. If he went after the markets and they tanked because he's cleaning it up, that would basically erode all his political power. It'd be stealing the wealth from his base and getting him blamed for it, even though he was doing the right thing. Because ultimately, if people's money are affected by you, that's going to turn them against you. So Trump, and I believe brilliantly so, has been letting them, because they want to tank the economy on him anyways. He's been letting them dig their own grave and get to a point where he can let it happen. Now he's got all his economic policies in place, the ones that matter most. He's just delivered this healthcare plan. He's got all this set up. And even if the healthcare plan doesn't get passed, he's still with everything else, with the one big beautiful bill being passed and all the deregulations and the tariffs now very likely to be upheld. He's in a place where everything's in his favor for the economy. So if the market is allowed to crash now, it will rebound quickly, and it will the Main Street won't be as hurt because it'll build up quickly the rest of the year as well. So if the market crashes, it allows him to go in and say, you crooks, you tanked the market, you overshorted, you've done all this stuff, you're using other banks, laundering this money, offshore accounts, all this. He can go in and he can say, look, America, look what these people did. It's 2008 all over again. But this time people are being held accountable. It's the perfect setup. And then Trump gets to be, the people love him for bringing justice. He doesn't get blamed for their 401ks going down. And he can rebuild the markets just like he's rebuilding the economy. But in my opinion, that's what has to happen. The markets have to crash in order for him to get there. So that's what I see. That's what I believe it's gonna happen. I believe silver is the canary in the coal mine for that. So we'll see how it plays out. Regardless, guys, we're winning. 2026 is shaping up to be an amazing year. And I just can't wait to see how all these other things keep playing out. There's so much going on right now. It's wild. So we need to pray before we leave. Because prayer has been helping us. I believe it's the reason we're winning so much right now. And so we're not going to stop. But before you go, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to support the channel, if you like the work I'm doing, please consider joining. Please consider becoming a member. It's free for your first month, so you actually get to try it out before you decide to stick around. But the link is in the description, or if you're on X, it's posted. It's pinned to my profile. Just click that link, go to Patreon, sign up, get a free month. And then if you want to stick around, it's only $5 a month over that. And you really help me run this channel. So thank you guys for that, and join the few hundred members out there already. So anyways, let's pray and we'll call it a night. So Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody in this chat, Lord. I thank you and watching right now. Just thank you for them. I pray you'd bless them, be with them, and whatever it is they need, Lord, just let them know you're there. And Father, we pray for wisdom for the Trump administration and protection for them. I thank you for what they're accomplishing, and I pray, God, you just continue to feed it to them, the best ideas, the best timing, everything they need to move our country forward in a lasting way and to build a new foundation for this country. We pray for justice and prosperity to come back to America in a major way, that the best is yet to come. And we thank you, God, for the miracle that we got in 2024 election that saved our country and set us back on a path where we can actually look forward to a better future at this point. And we thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Members, plan on doing a special members live sometime this weekend. Maybe I'll come on, either beat up or ecstatic after the Niners Seahawks game on Saturday. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me see a couple comments here before I leave. D6 says, be careful he doesn't get accused of inside dealing if DJT runs. Well, yeah. Well, he won't, because he's already put his shares into a trust. So he's safe there. Rumdog, if healthcare is not an issue, what will the Dems shut the government down? Yeah, dude, listen, I don't know. That's a good question. Matthew, nobody's being held accountable. I totally disagree with you, man. I think cases are being made. If you see what the grand jury is being put together in Florida, these things have to be built up. But appreciate you watching, brother. It's good to see you again. Brett, what's going on? Remind everybody, like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Candace, what's going on? God bless you. Have a great night. And no, Matthew, I don't know it's the truth. I completely disagree with you. I think they're building all the cases and it's all going to come out. But I think these things take time to do it right. So Don't agree with you, brother, but love you. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best.